Hello everybody and welcome! It is finally here, the Class 700 for Train Sim World 3. If this does happen to be the first video you've seen by me, then my name's Richard and I'm a former passenger train driver and current freight train driver based in the southeast of England. Before we jump into the video, I've got to tell you that all the views and opinions expressed within are solely my own and may not reflect those of any companies I may be employed by or associated with. Furthermore, Dovetail Games have given me this train, the key for this train, completely free of charge, but all the opinions are my own. If I like something, I'll tell you. Likewise, if I don't like something, I will also tell you that. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a pretty in-depth look around the 700. We're going to have a little drive on the southeastern high speed down to Gravesend. We're then going to jump into the Cross City and do a little bit of AC running as well. Yes, I know the 700 never run on the Cross City, but we want to hear the AC traction motor sounds and see the performance difference on the AC. So, let's get the safety systems turned on. TPWS, AWS. I'm going to leave the DSD and vigilance systems off because when we do some outside shots to get some nice scenic flyby shots, as the British ace would say, I don't want the DSD dropping on me. So, key in. We'll just wait until that networker goes past so we can hear the sounds nice and clearly. Too late. So you can see we've got all the TPWS, AWS stuff is lit up on the screen there. As soon as we press Q, we should get our nice little voiceover.
TPWS and AWS operational.
I am liking that. We'll do that once more just because that train was coming past. I don't know if you heard it clearly.
TPWS and AWS operational.
Fantastic. Okay, so we'll get the doors open and we'll get some lights on. So we are going to look around the cab. We're going to look at the DMI screen, which is this one here, the train management system. We're going to have a look through the inside of the train, as well as exploring some of the systems that have been modelled on here. So, pleased to say we do have working GSMR. It's not fully working, unfortunately. It's quite similar to the way it works on the Class 323 on the Cross City and the Glossop line. So we don't have to enter our registration number or anything, which is a little bit of a shame. I would like to see sort of more functionality on it, but the fact we've got something on there is good. So we've got our brightness up and down controls, which work quite nicely. We've got our volume up and down controls, and of course our SG proceed as signals indicate. So yes, it's nice that we've got some degree of functionality on there. That's really, really welcome. Okay, so it says lock doors. We're going to jump into the outside view. Lovely. And off we go. So we'll have a nice outside shot for the first departure. Fantastic stuff. Instantly speeding coming out of Dartford there. It's only 20 coming out of Dartford. So we're going to take this service down as far as Gravesend. We're going to be calling at Stone Crossing, Greenhive, Swanscombe, Northfleet and Gravesend. And then, like I say, we're going to hop into the Cross City line. So first of all, I want to address the elephant in the room, and that is that the DC sounds on this train are not correct. So we jump outside and power up. I mean, to me they sound okay, they sound acceptable, but by Dovetail's own admission, the DC sounds on this train are not correct. The AC sounds that have been used, AP sounds, they sound really well and they have been mixed really well, which you'll hear later on when we jump onto the Cross City. The DC sounds, however, are remixed from the, I believe it was the Class 350 or the Class 450, I can't remember which one of the other Desiros. So I know a lot of people are going to say, why didn't they use the Armstrong Powerhouse sounds, or why didn't they record their own sounds? Unfortunately, there were some licensing issues with the Armstrong Powerhouse sounds, which meant they were unable to use those. I believe Armstrong Powerhouse were not in a position to grant Dovetail, the license. So Dovetail and Armstrong have worked quite closely in recent times with a lot of the recent trains, but I believe the licensing on the DC Sounds Armstrong Powerhouse were not in a position to grant Dovetail the license to use them due to politics, I believe. So you could say, you know, why didn't they go out and record their own sounds on the 700? That would have been the next best thing to do, and I absolutely agree with you, it would have been. However, strapping microphones to motors on trains is an incredibly difficult thing to do. Takes lots of planning, takes lots of safety cases, all that sort of thing. It is doable, but it's not always practical, and unless you've got the cooperation of the train operating company or the train manufacturer, unfortunately it's not gonna happen. Which is a bit of a shame. It's a lot easier for sort of smaller indie developers and freelancers to get recordings because they can kind of source them in unofficial ways, shall we say. When you've got a big commercial studio like Dovetail, unfortunately all of their stuff's got to be completely above board, as you can imagine. So there's an old saying by a French philosopher, Voltaire I think his name was, which was, don't let perfection be the enemy of good. And I think that's really relevant here. So they couldn't get the genuine 700 sound, so they've remixed the Desiro sounds that they already had, and to me it's good. It's good. The alternative would have been to not make the train at all, which I think would have been a shame, so I think they've made the best of a bad job. Of course, having the right sounds would have been banging. That is what we all wanted to see, but it is what it is, and for me personally, I'm not going to let that ruin the experience of what is otherwise quite a nice train to drive. And we'll get our door opening sounds as well going on. Just to try and get a nice camera angle. Fantastic. So we're going to have a look around the cab. Like I say, we're going to have a look at the DMI screen, which is this screen here, the driver machine interface screen, and the TMS. We'll get on our way up to Greenhive, which is our next station, and then we'll have a little look through those systems there. Let's just put the HUD up. Still loading passengers. And locking the doors. So we'll have a pull away from inside the cab this time, so you can hear that. Yeah, in my mind, although the sounds are not correct, they don't sound too bad at all. So I've never driven a Class 700, however I have cab rode, that should be, many Class 700s when I've been doing route learning and stuff, so I have had the pleasure to be in the cab of a 700 on numerous occasions. I've had the displeasure to ride on them as a passenger as well. From a passenger's perspective, the ironing board seats are not very nice or comfortable at all, but from a driver's perspective, these are actually really nice, comfortable trains. So having a look around the cab, it's really, really nicely modelled, and there's some real good attention to detail as we go around. The graphics on the desk are really good resolution, which is nice. And a lot of the buttons are functional, and we'll go through those in a minute and I'll show you what they do. You can see obviously we've got the RLU with the number 8 on it. So RLU is reduced length unit, being the 8-car variants. Get some serious braking if we're stopping here. Being the 8-car variants. You've also got the FLU, which are the full length units, which are our 12-car variants. Now unfortunately in game we only have the RLU, the reduced length units. It would have been good to have the full length unit because that's what runs on the Brighton main line. Which brings me on to my next point on this train. It only features on the South Eastern High Speed. This is not on the Brighton main line. Of course you can get it into the Brighton main line using Creators Club. However, natively it only works on the South Eastern High Speed route, which is a little bit disappointing. That said, however, you do get over 80 timetable services on the South Eastern High Speed and 7 scenarios, which for the £12.99 price point I think is pretty good. One of the other things I want to pick up on the route is, and this is one of my favourites, this is route specific but it does sort of apply to the 700. If we look on the platform, we don't have stop car markers for normal trains and we don't have them for the 700s. So on the 700s you will have RLU and FLU stop car markers on the platforms, but unfortunately the route doesn't feature those, which is a little bit of a shame. Really nice lighting effects in the tunnel though. I like the way the gauges and the GSMR glow. And we got our cab light on, which casts a really nice shadow across the cab as well. Next station stop will be Swanscombe. So let's have a quick look at some of the in-cab features and in-cab button layouts. So to our left here we've got our depot horn. Functional depot horn, which is good. We got our signal bell. We got our door control buttons, master key and driver directional switch. We then got our combined power brake handle. This is a stepless controller as well, so if I bring up the HUD, you can see here you've literally got notches 0 to 100 and the same on the braking 0 to 100 because this is a stepless controller. So coming around, we've got, staying on the desk, we've got our AWS button, we've got the ETCS acknowledge, ATO start and ATO stop. Now when the Class 700s run through the Thameslink core, they are capable of running ATO, which is automatic train operation, with the European train control system enabled. However, that is not modelled on the game. Who knows, maybe one day we're going to get a Thameslink core update and that will work, which would be a really nice thing to see, but as it stands that does not work. We've also got our sounding button, horn, which sounds pretty good, and then our door controls on the right hand side there again. So the brakes on the 700 are pretty good, although I am hitting these platforms probably a little bit too fast. We're in the emergency brake setting there. As we stop at Swanscombe. So one of the things that I really would like to have seen would have been these monitors here working. So these are your driver only operated monitors. So these monitors give you the output of the door cameras of, where are we? These little cameras on the side here, and this is what the driver uses to dispatch the train. It would have been really, really nice if when you stop the train you had some sort of image come up on these when you open the doors. I mean, in an ideal world, what you'd want to do is sort of go to the camera point on the train, which is there, take that image as a view, as a live view, and then post that onto there for each coach. But from what I understand, the system resources required to do that would be absolutely immense, and it would mean that the train would be extremely laggy. But even having some sort of animated GIF or some sort of static picture coming up on there, I think would have been a really nice touch, just so you've got something. And we can see our driver inside the cab there is wearing Thameslink branded uniform, which is always really good to see. And we've got full branding on the side of the train there, nice Thameslink branding. So just coming down to Northfleet now, the high-speed line's going along underneath us. One of the other things that would have been really nice would have been to have a fully working PIS system. So this is your passenger information system here. You've got absolutely no interaction with that at all. There's nothing you can do on it. The PIS system does work, however it's taken directly from the game and the timetable. You as the driver have got no way of interfacing with that or controlling with it. Again, it's not the end of the world, but it's something that I would really like to have seen implemented. I think sounds in general, announcements, station announcements, on-train announcements, I think that is something we will see in Train Sim World in the future. I think it's kind of the next logical step in terms of immersion. Stopping a bit short there. Yeah, as you can see on the front of the train there, we've got Rainham on our destination screen, and if we get out of our seat here at Northfleet and actually go into the train, so we can have a look at the back cab wall there and around the cab, which is really very nice. If we go into the train itself, firstly I want to say that the inside of the train has been modelled really, really well. So you can see there we got the working PIS system. 1941. This train terminates at Rainham. If we give that a second as well, that will pop up. There you go, calling at Northfleet, Gravesend, Higham, Strood, Rochester, Chatham, Gillingham and Rainham. So like I say, you can't interact with this in any way, shape or form. It purely runs off the timetable. And then we've got our next station screen as well with a little map there, which is really nice. The inside of the train, the way it's modelled, is really nice. This looks really, really accurate in my opinion. I am a fan of this. We can sit in all the seats as well, the nice ironing board, uncomfortable seats. But yeah, generally I am quite a fan of how this performs and how this looks. Yeah, good job, Dovetail. I think the general modelling of the train overall looks really, really nice. You can see like we've got all the grime and the dirt on the side there. The train looks a bit weathered, it isn't perfectly clean, which is good. Like I say, we've got the official Thameslink branding, which is always really nice to see. And if we have a sort of more detailed look at the front of the train there, you can see all the flies that have been splattered all over the front of it as well. So yeah, really liking the actual modelling on this is really nice. And we'll have a look around the outside, the bottom of the train, and all the on-train equipment in a few moments as well. So back in the chair, we are down to Gravesend. It does help if you close the doors, doesn't it? And we are off. Yeah, so continue our little tour around the cab here. You've got this panel here, you've got your emergency stop button, you've got your brake gauge, your DMI changeover screen, which I'll go through in a minute, your DRA, which does have nice sound effects on it. I'll show you that when we get to Gravesend. Desk light, windscreen heater, windscreen washer, windscreen wiper, and our AC/DC and power supply modes there. One of the things that doesn't work, the windscreen heater doesn't work, which is, again, it doesn't work anywhere on Train Sim World 3. It's not exclusive to the 700. I think World of Subways has a feature where the windscreen gets steamed up, which is really nice. So that's something that I would like to see in Train Sim World. That would be quite a nice feature. And again, windscreen washer doesn't work. I think that would be quite an easy thing to implement, but it would be something that would be quite nice to play with, wouldn't it? Just squirting some water on the windscreen, and especially if you had like a dirt feature as well, where you get bugs all over the screen, that would be really nice. I believe that Train Operator 377 does have that feature on it. Again, quite an easy thing to implement, I would have thought, and just, you know, gives that little bit extra layer of immersion and more things to play with in the cab, which is always welcome. 395 coming past there. So we are going to get down to Gravesend, then we're going to have a quick look at the outside of the train and the external train equipment. Then we're going to jump onto the Birmingham Cross City line and go for a run on the AC, and that will be the end of the video. There's also something else I want to show you on the Birmingham Cross City line with regards to the TPWS system on the train, which was something I was really impressed that they'd actually bothered to model. So yeah, I'm gonna show you that as well. We will have a look through the TMS and the DMI screen as well, and sort of some of the features on here. And we get some braking because it is 30 coming into Gravesend. So like I say, I have never had the pleasure to drive this train, but the performance does feel pretty good. .30 coming into Gravesend. So the cab windows on both sides do open. And we've also got the cab blind as well, which does make the cab a fair bit darker when we put it down, which is quite a nice touch, that does actually impact on the lighting. Apparently I didn't stop at Northfleet, okay. I've upset the game a little bit, but never mind, never mind. So stopping on the 8 car mark, like I say, in real life we would have RLU, reduced length unit markers on the stop car marks, so we'd know exactly where to stop. And we'll open the doors on the left hand side. So one of the things I wanted to show you, I don't think I've shown you this already, is the DRA, which is very good. We got a lovely voiceovers on it.
Driver, you have reset the DRA. Please check the signal.
I might have shown you that at the beginning of the video. I honestly can't remember. Got a 700 coming in the other way. So staying in the cab for the minute, this screen here is called the DMI, which is the driver machine interface. This is effectively 2 screens. You've got your one on the left and the one on the right. This is basically all your gauges by your brake gauge. A lot of the controls of the train are now from this touch screen. So your physical TPWS buttons and bits and bobs like that are all controlled directly from this screen. So we can change this over. We've got the left screen, automatic, or the right screen. So if one of these screens fails in real life, you can change it over during your journey, so you can keep going, so you've still got your speedo and all your other vital details up there. There's not a great deal of functionality on this. A lot of the buttons on the side don't work. The day and night button does, that's functional, and the brighter and darker buttons, we got the dimmer on there, which is pretty good as well. You can see on here our AWS TPWS system is working, and the only other button we've got on here that really does anything at the moment is the TSO button, which is your train stop override. So if you've got to pass a signal at danger for any reason at all, train stop override, that stops the TPWS from firing off. We'll have a look at the TMS system as well. We'll do that once we jump into the cross city line. What I want to do for now is just have a little look at the outside of the train and the sort of attention to detail on the outside. I think the modelling on this is really good. I think the attention to detail on the modelling is very, very good indeed. Credit where due. Dovetail have done a really nice job of the modelling. Just looking at all the under-train equipment that's been modelled as well. All the safety stickers that are on there. Yeah, really nice attention to detail. Really nice attention to detail. Your dampers on the side and your air tanks. Data panels on the end of the unit. Very nice indeed. Very, very nice indeed. So what we'll do is we'll have one more shot of this leaving Gravesend from the outside. And then we'll jump onto the cross city and have a look at the AC workings. Oh, look at that. It's as if I had planned it. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So let's jump out of that now and jump into the Birmingham Cross City line. So here we are at Brimsgrove station, just at the bottom of the Licky incline on the Birmingham Cross City. In order to get the 700 on the Birmingham Cross City line, you will need to use the Creators Club, and we're just going to do a couple of stations on this so we can experience the train running on DC. Cross City folk, this is what could have been if you'd had Thameslink 700s. I mean, to be honest, it doesn't look out of place. It does actually look pretty good, so we'll give them that. Okay, so the first thing we'll notice is that the pantograph on the train is in the down position. So we need to get the pantograph up and get this train into AC mode. So the way we're going to do that, we'll come into the cab, safety systems on. Again, I'm going to leave the DSD and the vigilance out so I don't get bushed when we're looking around the train talking. Key in, we got our nice voiceover.
TPWS and AWS operational.
Fantastic. Okay, we'll get some lights on. Doors open on the left hand side. GSMR. Yeah, the GSMR is a little bit buggy, as it similarly to the Class 323. It's a little bit all over the place. So yeah, something I'd like to see is a more of a functioning GSMR system, which would be quite nice to see. So what we're going to do: power supply to off, mode to AC, and then power supply back to on. And when they both stop flashing, hopefully, we are now in AC mode. So if we jump outside, we should have pantograph up. And now we get the beautiful AC traction motor sounds, and the train also handles significantly differently with the AC as well. So let's get the doors shut. We'll jump into an outside view. And you can hear the AC traction motors. And the AC traction motor sounds, I must say, are absolutely gorgeous. They are Armstrong Powerhouse sounds, and they do sound really, really good. The train performance on the AC is also significantly different as well, so the train does perform much, much better, as is in real life. Obviously, you've got 25,000 volts on the overhead, as opposed to 750 volts on the DC, so there's a lot more power available to the train, which means the motors take full advantage of that, and they do speed away. So we are now going to have a quick look at the TMS. Like I say, we're going to do about 2 or 3 stations on this just to experience the sounds and the performance. So this is your TMS, your train management system. This has some degree of functionality, but not a lot. So the only 2 screens we can access along the top are these 2 here. The rest of them are not functional, unfortunately. So your first one there gives you your braking effort, your tractive effort, and your line voltage. So you can see their line voltage kilovolts were about 25,000, which is where we'd expect to be. As we take the power back, the tractive effort starts dropping back, and as we put brakes in, you'll see the braking effort come up. Now, if you like to drive HUDless and you don't know what step you're in, that's a really, really good indicator as to where you are by following that. So that's quite nice there. So we're going to keep the power in for the minute, 2.3 miles. So on this screen as well, we've got our brightness controls, which are fully functional. Automatic dimmer, which works when we go in and out of tunnels to dim the screen. Our cab air conditioning. So if we put aircon automatic. So there are some very subtle cab fan sounds associated with the air conditioning. So when you put it on, you do get a little bit of a sound. It's very faint, but it is there. I doubt you can probably pick it up on the stream, to be fair. We then got our camera screen, which doesn't work. Train config gives us all of our coach numbers as we go along. We can close out of that one. ECO information doesn't work, options doesn't work, and event overview doesn't work. If we go back into train config, however, we do have a slow speed button, which would be used for going through train washes. I don't think it works. I couldn't get this to work, but I am in a pre-release version of the train, so it is quite possible in the full release version that does work. Like I say, this is an early access version that I'm playing in. Hauling mode, which would be used if you were dead hauling the train from a locomotive. The uncouple button, confirm config, and close. If we go into our second menu there, we've got some various options there. Brightness, snow brake. Again, I don't see any difference, but that could be that it's just not implemented in the version that I'm using. Automatic brake test, and we can also disable and enable our regen brake. So it would have been really nice to have some additional functionality in there. You know, having the door screen working, the ability to lock out doors, the internal cameras and stuff like that would have been really nice. But you know, I guess it is what it is. The thing is, the more features you implement, the more I'm going to want. So that's the bottom line of it. You know, there's always going to be something that doesn't work. And I guess from a developer's point of view, it's kind of weighing up, you know, between what makes commercial sense and what makes the train functional. And I think they've struck a nice balance on this one. It's a very, very drivable train. It looks nice. It sounds nice. Yeah, so for me, it's good. For me, it's good. And we're coming into Barnt Green. And you'll notice just before we stop here as well that the red brake gauge needle comes up. That's where the regen brake goes off and it goes over onto friction. So you'll notice just before we come to a stand that the red needle will go up. And there is a little bit of a jolt on it as well when that happens, which is quite nice. There we go, the regen brake comes up, the friction brake comes up there. The friction brake also acts as a holding brake to hold the train when we're stopped at stations. So we're just loading up our passengers here. We've pretty much been around the entire cab now, and we've had a look at the systems on the train. Yes, you can see what I was saying with the PIS. This is picking up directly from the route that we're driving, Longbridge, Northfield, Kings Norton. So in theory this is going to work on any route that you put this train into. I do really like the PIS screens. This train terminates at Birmingham New Street. It's just a real shame we didn't have any sounds to go with that. That would have been nice. Got the safety information screens and everything up there, which is good. I think we probably could have done with having some advertising hoardings and stuff. Even if they were fake advertising hoardings, I think it would have been nice to have something on there. Yeah. The door close sounds are nice. They're obviously directly from the 700. They are really nice door close sounds. So there's a couple of other things I just want to show you before we wrap the stream up. We're going to jump into the number 8 cab. Now this is something, we're talking about attention to detail. I was incredibly impressed by this. If you look at the brake block here, this is your friction brake. So when the train's at a stand, this is what's holding the train. If we take power, close the passenger doors, that does help. If we take power, and then I was just incredibly impressed by the fact that the brake blocks actually move. You see that come away from the wheel there. And as we put brakes back in, it moves back onto the wheel. Yeah, I was not expecting to see that. The first time I noticed that, it was like, whoa, that's really good attention to detail. Trying to find the right button to get a camera angle. There we go. So the next station stop on this service is Longbridge, and I want to show you something on the TPWS, which again was something I was quite surprised that had been modelled. I'm very pleased it's been modelled, but I was quite surprised. I wasn't expecting it to have been modelled. So those of you who are familiar with the Cross City line will know that Longbridge, which is our next station, we're going to have something called approach controlled signalling. Now, in reality, as far as we're concerned as train drivers, there's no such thing as approach control. A signal is red until it changes otherwise. But for the purposes of the game, the signal at the junction is going to be held at red, and the idea of that is to force us to slow down before we go across the junction. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fail to slow the train down coming up to the signals, which means that the TPWS, the Train Protection and Warning System, will activate. Now, Train Protection Warning System, TPWS, is modelled in a number of the Trainsim World free routes and trains, so that's not a new thing. However, this train has the TPWS Mark IV system, which has got the lovely talky voices, the TPWS AWS operational voices. So, I am just going to let the train do its thing and show you what happens. And I was really surprised that they had implemented this. So without slowing down, the safety system is going to kick in a few minutes. Loving the bounce on the train as well, that's quite nice. There we go.
Overspeed. Contact the signaller. Overspeed. Contact the signaller.
Superb.
Overspeed. Contact the signaller. Overspeed. Contact the signaller. Overspeed. Contact the signaller.
So we've got a full emergency brake application gone in there,
Overspeed.
which is exactly what we would expect it to do. However, with the TPWS Mark IV,
Overspeed. Contact the signaller.
we've got this lovely overspeed contact the signaller alarm going off, which is...
Overspeed. Contact the signaller.
I was really surprised that they'd implemented the voiceovers on that. So to reset that, we press the OSS button, hit the AWS TPWS AWS acknowledge button. That does have a 60-second timeout on it, so we do need to wait for that to time out. There we go. Contact overspeed, contact the signaller, press the BR to release the brakes. So we press the BR. We can see the brake gauge has come back down to the holding brake position. And we've got a green and we've got a route indicator. Yeah, so I was really quite impressed that they had implemented the overspeed contact the signaller voiceover. As a train driver, you never really want to be hearing that. That means you're having a bad day if you're hearing that noise. So we'll get going into the next station, which is Longbridge, and then I'll give you my closing thoughts and we will end the video right there. I am going to be doing a couple of live streams on this over the coming days, so we can have a little bit more of a play on the train, show you some of the features. Maybe we can look at some of the weather conditions and how they affect performance as well, and run through some of the scenarios. I am going to be having, fingers crossed, a genuine Class 700 driver, or should I say, an ex-Thameslink driver who used to drive 700s coming onto the stream with me and having a little drive through. Now, she doesn't play Train Simulator. I don't think she's ever played Train Simulator, but she does drive, or did drive, Class 700s, so it'd be really good to get her thoughts and opinions on the train. So if you do want to see that stream, I will be advertising it well in advance, but do hit that like button and subscribe for notifications of when that goes live. So there we go as we come into Longbridge. We might actually get one perfect stop, which would be novel. There we go. So, doors on the left. There we go, guys. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on this. For me, this train is very good. I think for $12.99 it's well priced. I don't think that's overly expensive for what it is. There are some Armstrong Powerhouse packs, enhancement packs, which cost more than that on their own. So I think for $12.99 the train is very good. My biggest bugbear is the fact that we don't have the correct DC sounds in there. But like I said, don't let the perfection be the enemy of good. So although it's not perfect, I'm happy that we've got the train in game. And who knows, in the future maybe we'll get a sound patch to fix those. But they're close enough, in my opinion. They're close enough. So I'm not really going to lose too much sleep over it. Yeah, really nice train. The modelling on it is really good. The AC sounds, are absolutely spot on. The door close sounds are nice. The way it drives is really nice. So for me, it's a solid 7 out of 10 for me. I think get those DC sounds in would be absolutely brilliant. I'd love to see the GSMR radio fixed up and working. I'd love to see the train management system a little bit more in depth, some announcements on the train, and some sort of dispatch system on there as well would be really good to see. But again, you know, that's completely and utterly my opinion of things that I would like to see. In terms of the product that we're actually being offered, it gets a thumbs up from me. I do recommend this. This is a really nice train. Yeah, like I say, you've got another 7 scenarios on there. My apology. Yeah, 7 scenarios and over 80 timetable services. I'd love to see the full length version of this. I'd love to see it patched onto the Brighton main line. So much more that could be done with this. A Midland mainline route with a Class 700 on it. Who knows? Is it going to happen? I'm hopeful. Be really interested to hear your comments, guys. Do let me know in the comment section below what your thoughts are on this train. As always, if you have enjoyed this video, please do hit that like button, consider subscribing, that would be absolutely fantastic. If you want to join our very friendly Discord community, come and talk about trains, aviation, life in general, then there is an invitation link to that in the description below. And you can also follow me on my social media channels, which are on the screen for you right now. Until the next one, guys, thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you in another video very soon.